Yep.
Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the Living Peace and Friendship Treaties, with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I call this town council meeting of October 30th, 2025 to order, and we'll start with an approval of the agenda. Are there any council covered?
Move to approve the agenda as circulated.
Thank you. And seconded by the deputy mayor. Thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. We will move to the minutes. We have two sets here. The regular council meeting of October 14th, 2025. Were there any errors or omissions? No. Turning to the special council meeting of October 21st, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, being none, I can move on to the next item. Number 3, announcements by council members. Are there any Councillor Holderman?
I wasn't, I see one of the guys is here tonight, so that'll speak for itself. No, there was an article in the Telegraph newspaper from England. I'm not sure, I don't think they circulated it.
Yeah.
And it's a national daily, so it's very prominent. And this was even the weekend edition. And the article is headed, Nova Scotia is just like New England in the fall, but quieter, prettier, and more friendly, with spectacular scenery, etc., etc. The streets of the South Shore of Nova Scotia are buzzing with excitement amid the Mahone Bay Scarecrow Festival in a small coastal town. Among the trees turning rich shades of crimson, amber, and burnt orange, every home and business was taking part, placing scarecrows on the front lawn, each one a labor of love clearly made by hand. Tourists strolled along the main drag, taking in the creations, among them circus performers, farmers, lobsters, and pirates, and the latter no doubt inspired by their coastal surroundings. It goes on a bit beyond that, and then it goes on to sort of lesser attractions like Peggy's Cove and
Watch out.
Well, thank you, and Councillor Palmerman had circulated that one, and I sent it sent by someone else. Share it on Facebook. I'm not a member of their like.
Can we share with the Chamber of Commerce?
I think I passed it to Karen. And
Yes.
Lovely.
I think she.
And there was another one about Eastern Canada that I read on Facebook as well, giving Mahone Bay recognition of those top 10 towns to visit in Canada.
Best small town in Canada.
Yeah, there we go. Very
Working my
good.
singing.
Are there any other members, Councillor Carver?
Yes, I just want to make a council related announcement, and it's about the anti-racism, anti-discrimination advisory committee, which is a regional committee representing the 5 different councils. And there's been a long period of kind of a hiatus, and I just want people to know that the committee has met a couple of times now in person and also on Zoom. So we're getting our feet on the ground underneath us. So we'll be hearing more about the anti-racism. And I'm sorry, I let enough cough.
Well, we understand that. Thank you, Councillor Carver. We look forward to regular updates on how that committee is functioning. Okay, I want to say that Bayview, which is the big fundraiser at Bayview Community School, was a great success. They've had a long contest from, if you remember, and they did a Harry Potter theme over in Bridgewater and at the Mahone Bay Center in different locations. But Bayview was back and it was bigger than ever, I think. And so I was there and the place was packed right to 2 o'clock and they had to kick us out. So I'm sure it's here to stay. I haven't heard the tally for the day, but I look forward to hearing that. I want to remind people to take time to see the Legion banners that are going up. This year they won't be on Edgewater Street. They will be up for Veterans Week. And they will be starting around Kinburn and going down, following to the Legion on various poles. And I'm not sure if there are any other.
Yeah, basically from between the Cenotaph and the Legion on Claremont and Pond.
Yeah. Yes, so our town staff do an in-kind piece of work there for putting those up, but hopefully when Edgewater is finished, we will go back to doing it on Edgewater Street and look forward to that. And also the Cenotaph service is on Remembrance Day, followed by a reception at the Legion Hall. All are welcome, and I think the gatherings, the official ceremony starts at 11 sharp. So I look forward to seeing many of you there in the Cenotaph, rain or shine. It rained last year, I remember. So anyway, it's always a good turnout in Mahone Bay. So I will move along for now. We have no one in the gallery for public input. So we welcome Tim Mary to do a presentation for us, and congratulations on your soccer's recent award. And
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I've got to set a timer for my 10-minute limit so I can track this properly. Make some space for questions up. Brilliant. Well, as an ardent, some might say slightly obsessive soccer fan, I'd like to start the presentation by saying go Blue Jays. These are good times.
yeah,
So when I was last here, it was in the spring of this year, and I was just kind of giving you an update on where we're at with the field and what was going on. And during that period, I was like, and we're just coming to the end of our 3-year kind of prototype of the soccer club taking over the maintenance, promotion, and management of the field. And you know, that 3-year was an agreement we made, see how it would work. Is this a successful model? And then to decide how and if and in what form we might go forward. So the presentation today is going to do a little bit of like, hey, this is where we've been. This is what we've achieved over the last kind of 5 years together. This is how the field is being used. And this is how we as a club see moving forward. So on some level, there's a pitch or an ask at the end of this presentation. And you can see it that way, but because that's part of it, you know, because we're asking for financial support. But I also hope that you understand that there's more to this relationship than the transaction of money, that we're actually all involved in galvanizing a piece of the town, but also galvanizing the community and making the community visible in all kinds of positive ways. So I hope you hear it as an invitation to continued partnership as well as we do this work. Do I just hit the button here and it changes slides? Is that? See what happens? No?
No. Maybe you'll have to click that.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. I love it that tech support is so close.
Yeah.
Very good.
Aim to please.
Good. Yeah. So there's the glorious field. It's looking good. We just, we know the town has actually just kind of upgraded the track. And so that's now got asphalt all around it. And within 24 hours, there was an entire family out there on their bikes doing laps. 7 members of the same family doing laps. One with a mum with like a trailer, but one of those camp trailers behind. So that little upgrade has had an immediate impact, which was part of the vision we had when we started it. It was that there'd be soccer on the field and people riding their bikes and their scooters, learning how to ride bikes around it. So the continued kind of incremental improvements are a big part of this, as much as the kind of big bang of putting something big in place at first. The incremental improvements continue to improve what we're doing. So, like I said, these are the 3 areas. A little reminder of MBU. I'll go through that quickly because all of you, I think, have heard of it quite a lot already. What we've achieved together, the future on the field in the next 10 years. So MBU, who you've already done this and recognized it. Thank you very much. But we basically got the Recreation Nova Scotia Program Excellence Award this year, which is, so we've been recognized as essentially the best recreation program in Nova Scotia from tiny little Mahone Bay, you know, which was great. And it was a surprise, and it's an award that is recommended by recreation professionals. So it's not something that we put ourselves forward to, for like Lunenburg and Queens County recreational professionals put
put us forward, and then we got accepted. So that was kind of amazing. So that's me, Francis, and Juliet. They came there, we got given this beautiful painting. And so I think that's one of the things I want to say is that the club, like, we're doing soccer, but we're also making a really good name for the town. Do you know what I mean? Like the nature of the club and the fact that we're a soccer club and the fact that we're the only club in Eastern Canada that is offering year-round, no obligation to play programming gives us a level of profile that actually all lends us to the kind of promotions that you were reading from the Telegraph paper. You know, is that actually we're actually part of the good news story too. This club adds to the narrative of the success of this little community. We're an all-inclusive club for anyone who loves soccer. And so all you have to do is enjoy the game and then turn up. You don't have to be brilliant. The mission, as many people as possible enjoying the benefits. We feel like soccer has lots of benefits way beyond the playing of the game. Kelly and I were just talking before this started and talking about how our kids have to adjust to the fact that the grass completely disappeared. That was one surface, and now the grass has come back. It's a super bumpy surface, you know? And so the metaphor with the kids is, well, hey, the circumstances in life change all the time. You can't spend your life complaining about the fact the surface has changed. The question is, how are you going to solve that problem? How are you going to be creative? And so soccer in itself is, yes, we're playing a game, but I think in many ways, this soccer club's aim is to help raise healthy, brilliant, problem-solving, creative kids in our community. And you can see the kind of response we get. These are from our evaluations, you know, a huge-hearted, community-minded soccer group focused on inclusion, accessible, fun, incredible skill development opportunity, engaging and knowledgeable coaches. That we get good feedback, right? And so the product, just so we're clear, year-round games, training, and events for youth and adults. We're the only organisation that's offering local Windsor soccer for kids. Upgrade and maintain free access to facilities and sports equipment. It's a big part of our partnership. Regular coach and leadership development for players and volunteers. We're not just training the game, we're building leaders, we're building volunteers in the community. And I'm just like, because I love showing the evaluations. Look, it's all like 87.2% rate it top notch, you know, and then we've got whatever it is, 12.5% down at the fall, you know. So like people are having a good experience in the program. And just a reminder that the key things that people come out with is they identify in the evaluations is number one, belonging. They actually arrive into the club and feel belonging. I had one of the teachers at the end of term last year come up to me. I can't remember if I couldn't have said it in the spring, and they'd just done the kind of teacher conversations. And she said to me, Tim, I just want you to know that I've had 4 families today identify the soccer club as the reason they feel welcome in the community. And she was like, and I'm talking about tears and all in the parent-teacher meeting. So we're playing a role, even in terms of attraction and retention, I think, in the community. Now we're 7 years in, you know. So with all these kind of like unintended consequences to starting what was originally a free access soccer program. And not only are we free access, we're winning. Right, we got provincial silver in the U13 boys this year. This is only our 2nd year of having competitive programs, and our men's got provincial silver as well, both winning regional gold. So not only are we creating access, but we're actually delivering a very high quality product, again, that represents our town in all kinds of venues. Suddenly you've got Mahone Bay competing at some of the highest levels of competition that we can as a community. People are, wait a minute, what's happening in Mahone Bay down there? You know, so I think all of these things are part of us contributing to the kind of nature of the town. You saw this last time. Here, I'm gonna do that just so you can see it. So you can see from 16, you know, to 330 players last winter, 245 in the summer, from 2 volunteers to 51 in the winter, 41 in the summer. From 17,000 to 36,650 in terms of facilities fundraising, from 0 through to 41,000 last year. The 2 big bumps were when we did the actual big field upgrade together, right? That you can see in the numbers there. So this is a club that's growing, and in many ways, what we're trying to do now is slow the grow so we can consolidate. But some of that's not under our control because people keep wanting to come, you know. So we're organising for that. You can see some of the organisations we're partnering with here. I don't know what's happened to your logo there. That's weird. Anyway, I apologise for that. And so Suburban FC is interesting because that's probably the top academy in the province. And we now have 6 kids from Mahone Bay participating in the top soccer academy in the province at 50% of cost because of their agreement with us. So not only are we creating an accessible platform, we're creating a pathway for top players to actually get access to the best possible training so they can get college scholarships, so they can advance in the sport as a career, you know. So there's all kinds of ways I think that we're moving forward. Some that I didn't put here that Brian reminded me of is we've launched this year, last year, a Soccerbility program, which is, and also, so we now have a partnership with Autism Nova Scotia, Soccerbility and Soccer Canada, which is offering a program that is very specifically working with neurodivergent kids and training our coaches how to work with that community of players and building that capacity. And so, you know, when we say we're a club for anyone who loves soccer, we really mean it, you know. And we were one of 12 clubs in the province, sorry, in the country that was selected to be supported in that programming. So that wasn't just a you apply and you get it. We were selected out of hundreds of clubs that applied. So we're doing something quite remarkable here in this little town, but we're doing something quite remarkable together as a team, MBU and the council. Way back, we did the basketball courts, we got new goals, we found that when we cared for things, people started using those facilities. A partnership emerged between Mahone Bay Centre, Mahone Bay United and Bayview Community School and the town, which created this beautiful field. And then between 2022 and 2025, here's just a reminder of all the things we've done. Field graded, resurfaced, right? We've got a playing surface of 100 by 50, which is excellent. French drains, ditching, additional culvert. We buried the electrical wires, backstops, ditch and border fencing. Border fencing went in this year. Walking tracks, trails, tree planting, orchard, wheelchair accessible bleachers and benches, waste receptacles and dog poop station. Thank you. Please use it if you're watching online. Equipment shed and landscaping around the equipment shed. Lionel Mosey's on the move. Signage has been designed and posted, and we've now got the walking track paved. We've done a lot in a very short amount of time. And the beauty about this is that it's all aligned with your priorities. These are the priorities you've identified: attracting young families, exploring shared service partnerships, right, and facilitating the provision of recreational opportunities. We're doing what you set out in your targets to do, and we're doing it together, which is great. So the 3-year prototype, 3-year agreement to explore and test the partnership and the required volunteer and effort and operating costs. These are pictures from our Old Country Fair this year. That's the 3-legged race. I was just off picture, trailing very long way behind with me and my wife. Administration and maintenance grant to maintain the field from the town. It's your facility, we maintain it in some ways on your behalf. And MBU fundraising now became focused on providing programming as opposed to raising for facilities. You can see the type of formal facilities we have on the field. We had the Halifax Wanderers U21 team down here training this year, and kids coming out and getting to engage with the top U21 team in the province. The Bayview School is using it, Aikido, Tai Chi. There's been exhibition games against the Suburban Academy, which was one of the identifiers for young kids to enter the academy. I mean, it's unbelievable how much the field is being used. And it's just because we're looking after it, literally, you know. And then there's all kinds of informal stuff happening. Right, you wouldn't believe the amount of ways that track is used. Some people use it as a shortcut. Other people are using it for running, walking, families, dog walking in the winter. The amount of snowshoe tracks going across it, homeschooling groups. There's a mentoring and tutoring organisation in the Mahone Bay Centre that takes the kids onto the field to do the mentoring, so they're outside. So even space to sit and reflect. There's an artist that uses the area. So it's remarkable. Again, all of these unintended consequences that happen from just doing something good in your community. So 2024, we don't have the 2025 numbers yet because we're still investing in the field this year because we're trying to recover it in time to be able to set it up for the spring. So in 2024, we paid $20,721 to maintain the field. We received a grant from you for $21,000. So we contributed from our own funding that gap. Right, and because that's what we were taking on, and we want the field to be a really good surface for the kids to play on, even though it's a free program. We really believe in the quality of facilities, giving children, participants and coaches dignity. So, and you can see the things listed there that create that cost, right? And so, what's the future on the field? We would like to continue to promote, manage, and maintain the field in partnership with the Mahone Bay Centre, which is what we've been doing. Mahone Bay Centre takes all the bookings. They allow the activities on the field to use their toilets and their other facilities, and they're very patient with cleaning up all the dirt that the kids are not meant to be tracking in on their studs. And so we pay them a certain fee every year. I think it's $1,500 or $1,700 we pay them a year to look after that, to look after the booking and to help cover increased cleaning costs. So that's been a great partnership, and we've been working together in all kinds of beautiful ways since before we worked on the field. We would commit to maintaining the field up to the standard necessary for use as a community sports field, which is way beyond the standard that might be needed for some of the other community activities. We continue to have a vision for the field to be used for recreation, sports and community events, as well as informal activities for residents and visitors. That's our vision. You know, we don't want for this to become an exclusively soccer field. That's not what we're about. We're a community organisation. We would like to see Town of Mahone Bay continue to support the club with the operational grant, but also stepping in to help us with the incremental facilities improvements over the years that make it such a strong community meeting space. Line painting technology would be amazing. We're looking at with that. We'd love a robot to do that as well as to mow it. You wouldn't believe the amount of time that our volunteers spend painting the field, not working with kids. So that's one of the things we're looking at. And we continue to feel that the field continues to add value, attraction and retention to our growing community. I actually think the improvement of the field is having an impact on the attractiveness of the housing around it, of that whole area, of the property that is behind it, which I know there's meetings coming up to explore. That's because the field itself has become such a magnet for community participation. You know, we had a dance group there this year doing all kinds of stuff. So we've gone and looked into what we think it's going to cost to maintain the field over the next 5 years. We would like a 10-year agreement, but we can see 5 years into the future. And so I think it'd be a 10-year agreement with a 5-year kind of like, where are we at? Is there a gateway to get out, or how do we roll through? So, we're, based on those numbers, it's costing us 27.5 to maintain the field as it is. So we're suggesting the grant will continue to support our operational costs. We continue to raise the money to enable us to do the programming that gives all the town a great visibility. We're asking the town to continue to support us to have the facility for that programming to be available. There's an increase of 5% every single year. That includes the increase in the contractor costs, right, for the delivery, and the increase in the materials costs. So we expect that 5% increase to keep on going right beyond the 5 years. But I wanted you to see how that number matched out, because we kind of went in at the beginning of the 3-year one and we're like 21 grand. And then by the end of 3 years, it was 27.5 grand. So we underestimated the initial cost, but the cost kept rising even though we'd underestimated the original cost. So after 3 years of prototyping, these are the real costs of maintenance, and that's what we're asking for support with. We would expect to confirm the pricing for these years in 2030. The reason a gateway is good is because we can't predict in the nature of the world, this world, how steeply costs are going to rise for the materials and for the labor. This is our current projection in conversations with the contractors we're working with. We do expect there to be some incremental improvements. We've come to you every single year asking for an additional operational grant. We're probably going to come back to those, and it's always within your remit to say yes or no to those. But these are the kind of things that we're looking for. Next year, we want to strip the whole area where the goals are stored and just put down crushed gravel there. Because at the moment, we're like moving all the goals off, and then we're mowing it, and then we're moving all the goals back, and it's not moved for anything, not used for anything other than goal storage. So talking with John and talking with our board, that's something we want to get done next year. And it'll actually save us maintenance costs in the long run, because we're paying someone to mow something that nobody uses the crops on, right? We're looking at putting a water line installation in. The one thing that this year taught us is it's just going to get hotter. So we've got to look at irrigation in the field. We're willing to find the money to do the irrigation system, but we need the town's support to create the conditions for us to be able to put that system in, right? And so those are the things we're looking at. We'd love to look at lighting to increase use in the shoulder system, but that's portable lighting. It's not like installing massive flood lamps. I saw it over in England when they play rugby during the cold months of the year. They have kind of like solar powered generators that come out, and there's enough light to light half the field for 90 minutes for a program that extends beyond sundown. So it increased the use of the field. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at. We're going to need to redo that basketball court again at some point, do something to it. We'd love to put an athletic surface on that track. You know, we're so big now, we can't take any more kids over the summer. So, you know, we'd love a second field if you're up for talking about that. And we're actually talking to Bayview Community School because they've got to do something about their field. So we're looking at a partnership between the club and the school to revisit their field. We may be coming to you to say, what would a partnership between the school and the club and the town look like to create a second field? Because we've hit the limit of the number of kids we can take practically on one field. And of course, the school needs a new one. And that could be another community venue. Maybe it should be indoor and turf, just a thought. Just throwing these things out there because that says 2028 and beyond. Anything could happen. But I'm just seeding these ideas. So when I come back to you, you're not like, what are you like? You're crazy. And then this is us cheering because you've made the right decision. Great. Yeah. And I just love this quote. I love this quote. It's Jed Davis. He was assistant coach to the Halifax Wanderers first team. He's now head coach at UPEI for all their soccer programs. He's coached with people like Brendan Rodgers in the UK. He coached with Inter Miami. I mean, he's a top level coach. And he came down to us and he said lots and lots of lovely things. But he said, you've got something rare that's across the country, a proper club culture that will inspire kids for a lifetime. So we've been described by Soccer Canada as high performance in terms of the quality of culture that we create. And so that's the kind of high performance that I want us to be.
Okay, well, thank you.
That was slightly over my 10 minutes. I apologize. But I did my best.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Our tennis club got a great award for their provincial award from Tennis Nova Scotia. And now you're coming with a provincial award, like it's.
The town's doing great.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you so much for that presentation. I know we've already, Councillor Pulverman has a question.
Oh, I was just hoping you'd be a bit more enthusiastic.
Oh, no, I can't do it. Look, I've just done 2 days working with public service executives. Come straight off.
Just by way of background, what's the mix of Mahone Bay resident kids and Chester and Winterberg municipalities?
So before I answer that question, I want to point out that Mahone Bay is a hub town.
Oh, yes.
Right. So like people from all across this community leverage all across this South Shore, leverage Mahone Bay as a hub town.
And we need it.
And we need it because it brings all kinds of stuff into the town.
Yeah.
You know all that argument, we've been in it, but it's been important for the club. So I don't know the exact numbers, you know.
Well, I guess what it leads to, is there any funding coming from these other?
Oh yeah, so we've received funding from MODL in support of our facilities improvement and for equipment and programming. So we go to MODL every year. I think last year they gave us $7,500 towards equipment, both for the winter programming and the summer programming. And they've also supported some of the landscaping and shed renewal. So we're getting Chester hasn't paid us money. No, but we do get the use of the Chester school gym for free during the winter.
Okay.
You know, so people are chipping in, you know, in their own ways. Yeah. That's a valid question. But we're trying to get, because we haven't to date asked people to put their specific postcode in. No. This is the first year through the winter that we've asked people to put the postcode in from where we come from. And so hopefully by the next time I come here, I might actually have some numbers for you on how many kids are coming from within the Mahone Bay town, you know, as opposed to how many kids are coming from across the South Shore area, because it would be interesting for us to know too. Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, just one question really, and that is, what's the ratio of boys and men to women and girls?
Okay, yeah. So we don't have a senior women's team. We've tried every year to put out a senior women's team. We haven't been able to do it. We continue to offer it, but below that we had U15 boys in terms of the competitive soccer. We had U15 boys this summer. We had U13 girls, U13 boys. We had U13, U11 in both genders, and we also had obviously U7, which is the minis, which is co-ed. We had 50 kids. And that's roughly so in all ages up to the U15, but that's partly because kids are coming to us and evolving up through the program, you know. So a lot of the U15 kids didn't come to us as minis, or they didn't come to us as U7s. So those are kids that aren't coming through the legacy programming so far. So we expect that to continue. That said, coming into the winter, we're running a U16 indoor league, which is futsal, and we already have two girls teams signed up for the U16 level. So we're seeing a pickup, but it's an issue in Canada as a whole that at the age of about 13, 14, you see a massive drop off of young women's participation in team sports. And so that's something that is an issue across Canada. And something that, like everybody else, we're trying to solve.
Fortunately, they're taking it up in the STEM courses, they're taking over engineering and medicine.
There we go. Oh, right, yeah, exactly.
Councillor Carver.
Yes, Tim, thank you so much for this wonderful bubbling over community passion. Because that really has been so important in
Thank
getting
you.
things going
Thank you.
here in
Yeah.
town, and it's so lovely to have it here in this staid old council chambers. But I do have a question about the figure that you put in for the 2026, which
Yeah.
I think was 27.5,
That's right.
which is the same as 2025.
Yes.
So why is it the same, and why doesn't it have that 5% bump up that? you-
Yeah, I mean, it could do, you know, but I think Kenny did this to me last night. If I remember rightly. So some of those costs don't increase in the same way, you know, and so for example, we're doing some shifts in terms of how we use the auto mower that actually reduces how much we need from the landscaping company. So we're constantly trying to reduce the cost. Right, so there are things that we've learned over the 3 years that actually reduce our maintenance costs, and there are things that we've learned over the years that have increased our maintenance costs. You know, so you know, based upon what we think we're going to have spent this year, we think 27.5 is going to come in. But I'm happy that you asked that, because Francis told me before I came here tonight, but I wasn't asking for enough. And so I'm open to coming back, and you know, if we're 5 years in, and we're at the point again where we're making an assessment based upon real numbers that actually what we're receiving isn't matching up to what we're asking for, then that's definitely a conversation I'd love to have. And I think that's the nature of a partnership, you know. And again, although I don't think the value exchange is purely financial, I think there is an equal value exchange happening here between what the club is giving to the town that you oversee and what you're offering to the club in terms of what we deliver. I mean, I think it's a great deal you're getting. Bluntly, in terms of what the town gets and what you invest. So if you're open and willing to invest more, we are open and willing to accept. Thank you.
Councillor Carver.
So I'm wondering, your worship, is this an opportunity to make a motion to refer to budget? Is that?
Yeah.
Motions aren't in order on the presentation, so you
Yeah,
get
right.
a notice at the end of the.
Notice
meeting,
of
so the next
notice,
one.
okay.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Are there any
Because we
other?
have such charming presenters, we had to give ourselves a little bit of breather before we could actually.
And you know, one of the most exciting things that's happened at the club is that I'm changing my role. Right, is that, you know, 7 years in, I'm actually stepping back. I'm stepping completely out of the operations of the club, and then my role now is going to be focused on partnerships with the town, with Sender. So Sender is coming on as a partner for the indoor futsal league, and they provide all the kit and the balls to the Argentinian national team. I mean, we've got one of literally the premier provider of indoor soccer futsal equipment, certified by FIFA in a funding partnership with Mahombe United for our winter league, you know, and they're giving us 50% off all of their equipment, including our kit. So we're changing our kit provider. And so so I'm moving into a role where I'm negotiating these kind of partnerships, and I'm supporting the funding, I'm supporting the pathway for what might be called elite players, and then others, because we've got a large group of volunteers are now stepping in and running the operations of the club. So it's a good change for the club. It's a healthy succession in terms of the leadership, and it's good for me and my family, you know. A year ago, when my wife called herself a soccer widow, I read the writing on the wall and decided that we needed to figure out how to distribute the leadership better, and we're figuring that out as a club, which has been great. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tim, for all you do and all your volunteers do.
Yeah.
It's really appreciated.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for having us again. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Say hi to Francis for us.
I will do. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't see him anymore.
Oh, it's because he's too busy. He's too busy running the soccer club. That's
Yes, yes. Good. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move along to item 6, correspondences. Are there any that we?
Could I offer one thing before I leave, just because I forgot to say it? I just want to say, and I don't feel like the town receives this enough, Like Mahone Bay United's experience of partnership with the town has been exemplary. Like our relationship with Dylan and with John Allman in particular has been nothing short of remarkable in terms of how reciprocal and collaborative and productive and action oriented it has been. I think all too often there are lots of complaints about kind of like how the town operates. And I just, on record, that is not the experience the soccer club has had. We've had quite the opposite experience, especially in terms of, I mean, I was on the phone with John today, figuring out how we do the seeding around the recent changes because of the paving. And it's just been an incredible experience. So I forgot to mention that in the presentation, but I think it's worth saying.
Well noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Tim.
Okay. So returning to correspondences. We have several on the Edgewater Trail. Those seem to be, yes.
Why don't I just make a
We'll see.
motion to send 6.1 to 6.5, refer those all to the beautification and landscaping group that are working on the Edgewater Trail business. And receive and file for our information.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Toronto, thank you. All those in favor? Oh, did you want to?
I just had a question.
Oh,
Are all of these being responded to by us or by the staff?
So I guess just the same answer I always give is that unless we're directed, we usually just say, thank you for the correspondence that will be placed on the agenda. But then unless there's action, we don't follow up after the council meeting.
Okay, so will they know that we're making a motion to send to the,
if they're tuned in,
okay,
Yeah,
Or
they
they
wouldn't
read the
get
minute.
advised.
okay,
yeah.
And I guess further to the idea of sending, I think Penny was also wondering, she's usually there at those landscaping meetings. You know, the landscaping working group isn't expecting to meet or talk about the trail width or, you know, the trail itself. What they're expecting to meet and talk about is the plantings in the meeting. So just for everyone's perspective, council's already, you know, given direction with respect to the width and things.
yeah,
And the landscaping group is to look at this stuff, or particularly like Craig Stewart's, in consideration of what they can do with the median plantings. They won't be meeting until the new year, and that will be the focus of that conversation.
Councillor Carver?
Yeah, we're still in discussion, right? On the
Yes.
motion. So the letter from Mr. Hastem, 6.2, had quite a few concrete, as it were, suggestions that I hope wouldn't be limited to the landscape discussion group, but the CAO's already referred to that. So I hope that we as a council have an opportunity to look at those suggestions, sidewalks and crosswalks in particular. I thought would be worth thinking about as a council, but I'm not quite sure how to direct that, given the motion that's on the table.
Is it an item that could be added to an agenda with for discussion at a meeting, or?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Aaron's comments are kind of bigger picture, so obviously there's not a lot of opportunity to make further changes to Edgewater. I would suggest if that's the inclination, that it be discussed tonight in closed session or an open session. If this is about how we approach, you know, crosswalks and sidewalks and things like that more generally, because I think a lot of his comments are more general, then, you know, policy and strategy certainly is appropriate. It's just by the next policy and strategy meeting that's scheduled, most of the work will be complete. The project work is expected to be complete within the next month and a half, so.
Okay,
so I didn't,
I think did someone else, Brian, did you have your hand?
I did, but Colin was first.
Oh, okay.
so I'm just wondering if we wanted to kind of address more of the other smaller items or various items. I wonder if the motion could be slightly modified to send not only to the landscaping committee, but also to any other relevant subcommittees or committees, just so they don't get lost.
Councillor Keane?
Just Mayor, you know, noting the date of the correspondence being October 8th. After this, we've received this letter formally. We've also had we've had 2 council meetings. We had representatives that spoke to most of these issues in the council meeting. We've had a number of council meetings resolving the majority of these questions. This is my expectation is that the core of the letter's issues have been addressed twice already. And I think progress has been made to try to find general consensus and alignment, specifically on items such as like the trail surface. So like, I do think that this letter 3 weeks ago was at a moment in time when there were quite a few questions. The council was deliberating, but in the fullness of time and over the last 3 weeks, we've resolved most of them, and certainly to my satisfaction. I'm not sure if that's shared by everybody around the table, but at this point, I'm feeling very comfortable with the program and the decisions that have already been made. And I wouldn't think that there was anything that's jumping out at me to say we need to continue to address the approvals that we've already.
Councilor Copeland, you had,
Yeah, yes, so it's a landscaping committee is totally committed to planting trees and that sort of thing. And in the correspondence is reference to surfaces and whatnot. And we know that the engineers are looking at the option of colorization. I wouldn't like to see that lost in the discussion. I don't know where it lands with council as a change order, if that happens, if it's possible. Would that be where it lands?
Yeah, if it is possible and we get a price, and it may be even by later this week,
Yeah.
it'll come to you folks by email and we'll decide
Okay,
if we need to
okay.
convene in order to approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
anybody else? No? Okay, so there's a motion on the table by Councillor Wilson and second by Torno. Any further questions? Being none, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6.6, this is from the Mahone Bay Legion President Michael Brown. You saw the question about donations and it's getting tougher to get money and Councillor Feeney.
There's been our historical practice to support the Legion on, so for the levy and the reception afterwards, and move the council provide our annual $250 donation, which has been noted as greatly appreciated by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 49. Let it there.
Okay, second by Councillor Torno, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Carver.
I have two questions. I'm a little surprised that the figure wasn't $300. But I'll leave that.
We'll let them know.
I'll leave that up to you.
I
But
think,
Oh, isn't the request 250?
yeah,
Probably.
yes, it is, but they were
Okay.
saying there was hardship getting their regular donations and whatnot, so, yeah. You probably expected a
I
larger.
I did, yeah. So, but my question is, how does this request fit with our grant policy and our budget process? I mean, given that it's a regular request and a regular collaboration, as it were, is there any reason why this isn't a regular part of our budget, a standing item in our budget?
But I think we leave a portion out for these annual ones that tend to pop out. I believe that's what we do, CAOs.
So we've always done the donation, and for many years we wrote them and said, you forgot to actually apply. We'd really like it if you would apply next year, and if you don't apply, we might not be able to keep supporting you. And they have always sent this letter after the deadline as we approach Remembrance Day as part of the Poppy campaign, and we've always approved it at that time. I don't think there's ever been an appetite to say no on the basis of them not putting in an earlier application. Could we just budget $250 without being asked? I think we definitely could. It's just that the sort of basis of the recommendation in the budget that I've been asked to provide is that people have applied and that we should, generally speaking, be allocating between those who've applied. So that's where Suzanne's point of leaving the buffer. Yeah, we always assume that we will hear from the Legion by the fall and that they'll be looking for this amount of
And I
money.
think the same goes for New Year's levy.
Some of them just
Yeah.
do it when they do their campaign and, we kind of know they will.
I mean, it's an annual ritual. We received a letter and it's in the correspondence in October and it's dealt with. So I think there's a certain value to kind of keeping the grants policy in place of not budgeting for something that's not requested at budget time and knowing that we have to make these accommodations for 1,500 or 1,800 a year, whatever we leave in the pool.
We do have the grants policy coming up for some conversation between now and this year's coming deadline, so we can talk about that strategy of, whether we keep doing it this way with the annual deadline and then the budget recommendation.
Did we receive a Bamboo request this year? I don't think we did, did we? Yeah, just sort of went by us, didn't it? Anyway.
Volunteer
we'll-
your
We'll
time.
double up next year.
And I know the
Don't worry.
Legion does take help for people who wanna help make sandwiches and prep for the reception, usually the afternoon before Remembrance Day, so you keep that in mind as well. Okay, so we didn't vote. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7, staff, 7.1, staff report to council. This was, there's some things, we were completed.
Yeah,
Yes,
not
a lot
too
of things
excited.
coming due
You-
tomorrow, yes. Anything anyone wants to, Deputy Mayor,
I just had a question about, on one of the last reports, we had, remember we were doing a list of all the bylaws that were in play that with kind of priorities and when they were expected? That's not on here
So
this
that
time.
was just a quarterly version.
Oh.
That has the extra stuff.
Oh, I see.
If council would like that more often, I think my suggestion would be we put it on the policy and strategy as a regular thing. Because that's what we're talking about them mostly.
Yeah, okay.
So Eric, I mean, we had started doing that, maybe we start with the version that was done as the quarterly report and then use that to provide an update. That works for you.
Yeah.
But I think that makes more sense than putting it on here every time, because it is generally a repetition, it's more to remind us where everything was than. the
Yeah.
topic, So.
Okay, that would be great.
fine,
I think residents would like to know what we're doing.
all right, we have we can close these all together, can we, or, Councilor Wilson,
Yeah, this is actually what something that's not on this list. And I was just thinking about this morning. 2 years ago, we had a big thing about getting the property owners around the monument to cooperate in some kind of a program, to figure out how to fix the seawall on Ernst Brook on both sides. And I know we did some work and I know we spent some money, but then it just kind of dropped off the edge of the table. So is there a status report on that we could have?
Well, I mean, essentially what happened was that report, gave us what we would need to take the 2016 CDCL study, which is a whole chapter on the Ernst Brook and the challenges there, and say, well, what is this next step gonna be? Like, how are the different ways you can approach it? And ultimately, the approach of retaining walls being built, becomes another project of magnitude equivalent to the Edgewater project. Essentially, when council decided to cut off the Edgewater project at the washrooms and not include the bridge and not include raising the seawall along to Northern Sun, we essentially have now earmarked everything from, that point at the mouth of the Ernst Brook up to the Quinlan as a future phase project. But, there was some inclination from at least one of those property owners to move ahead in the interim, and we certainly indicated a willingness to support. I have not heard from them in the last half a year or so. But as far as our, long-term project, I think we'll be talking more about it once Edgewater is complete. And I will say a few steps have been taken in addition to what was mentioned, like we did secure the ownership over the submerged crown land in the mouth of the and title area of the brook as well. But yeah, as far as a town project, that's I think it's about $20 million was what the estimate was. So.
and does the province have any responsibility where the bridge?
They are responsible for the underside of the bridge,
Yeah.
and despite their general confidence in it, we do feel that it can't be too far away from needing some work. So there's an opportunity for the province to be a partner along with the property owners, so. Ultimately, big federal money will still, I'm sure, be needed to get the project off the ground, but does give the province a vested interest in helping.
Okay, any water lines or anything go under there or nothing left?
Oh, well, yeah, water lines. that-
Water lines.
Yeah, those are our responsibility, and the surfaces is ours, but the structures.
Okay. Councillor Copeland, is that?
Yeah,
Andrew?
following Kelly's extra, just curious, we aren't seawalling Northern Sun, et cetera, as you just mentioned. But the footpath from the bridge around the front of Northern Sun to connect with the trail, as far as I know, nothing's happening with that, is that right?
Yeah, no, the long-term plan would see that raised up like a meter, but that's punted into this retaining wall project now, if it ever happens.
But the footpath would be in front of the cenotaph, so really it's got little to do with, the seawall.
That is very scary.
Well, the average height,
That's,
yeah, I don't know what set it off, but the average height,
oh my God, I hope this sounds
I
good.
don't know if Eric's down there playing with it or what.
We're gonna have every poltergeist chaser in
So
North
that's-
America descending on town this week.
One of our staff brought that from home, she really just wanted to have it here tomorrow, so we invited kids to come by for Halloween. So yeah, the retaining wall height would be that height, like in order to.
No, I
be up-
understand that,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, we will have to bring the trail up a meter.
But it's the footpath in front of Northern Sun is not going to be lifted up 3 feet above the road, surely.
Yeah, no, I think it's unlikely that the footpath would follow the wall there, so.
Oh,
there'll be a-
precisely.
Yeah.
So
Flower
if there any
box there.
interim plan to connect the footpath with the trail, because that's the link.
Yeah, the trail would still taper down at the teaser crossing, like it would only stay along the seawall to that point. The seawall would stay out,
Hmm.
but the footpath would still.
Well, it's a narrow footpath, but it's still.
And then, once you're on the side, like once you cross to the teaser crossing, if you stay on the water side in front of Northern Sun, like you're no longer up at that height. So the step down will be along the water by the teaser sign. Like at that point, it'll step down. The retaining wall will stay up, but you won't be walking along it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think to Kelly's point, this comes up, I'm sure for everyone around the table, quite a bit. Every month or so, someone asks a question about what's happening with that space. I mean, I think it's worthy of another, kind of more formal conversation about what the options are, and I think we're more on the, what does a shorter term, cosmetic with some functionality fix look like, rather than the $20 million comprehensive
Yeah,
100-meter project.
The
So it's hard to
unfortunate
know.
thing about it was, and I'll recirculate the Harborside report, but really it was down to the limited space, the incredibly limited space, like.
Mhm.
When you look at the options, there is very little to be done on an interim basis unless it's specifically permitted as this will be removed. And that was our conversation with the Kimber Pharmacy, if they need to do something, and what they would need to do will limit the water, will reduce the actual area available for the flow of water. It could be permitted if the town says, we're going to come along later and do something that will restore the flow of water. And that this is a temporary measure. But since we don't have funding secured or anything, we can't necessarily commit to the idea that we're gonna come along later and do something.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you want to supplement me?
What would be our, and maybe we don't need to talk about this tonight as much, but we should know what our position would be if the landowners on either side of the brook that own those barriers, like if they ever decided, hey, let's just drop in a culvert and bury it. Like what would be our view of that? I think people would lose their mind, there'd be pitchforks and torches, I think would be the perception of the community, but I'm wondering, given even though we own the base of the water, like what would be our position if someone decided to go with that much cheaper solution, which is just drop in a gigantic pipe and fill it all in?
Yeah, I mean, the province also has to permit it, like, we're
Okay.
gonna have landowner. So we would obviously have an issue with the installation happening on our land.
So we have
But the province definitely would have to permit it, and Harborside consulted extensively with the province in the options that they looked at. And I think it's quite clear that anything that reduces the flowing area of the brook, like including putting it underground, would not be easily supported by the
Okay.
province.
That's good, thanks, I appreciate that.
Councillor Wilson? Okay, Councillor Carver.
Well,
Good
it's
to know.
such a an important discussion, and it's not on the agenda tonight, and it's very tempting to get on with it, but I wonder if we could refer it to policy and strategy to discuss some more. I mean, because one of the questions I'm wondering about is if people are asking about it, and clearly they can see the walls collapsing, is it worth working on some communications
Mhm.
around it, for example? I mean, so first of all, is it appropriate to refer to policy and strategy for further discussion?
Okay, Theo?
I certainly think it always is. I did want to note that the joint committee is structured doing the climate risk assessment project that Clean Foundation has funded. You know, we will obviously have in the long run a resituation the same way that the Edgewater project came out of the previous climate hazard analysis where the flooding coastal hazard was identified and the options report from CBCL in 2016 was specific to follow up on that. I would think that we're poised to go through basically the same thing where prioritization of the 4 arguable different coastal flooding interventions that might be needed, and that being the business district, the highway towards Lunenburg,
Yeah.
the Earthbrook, and then something like Inchcape, like those concepts need to get prioritized through that process. But in the meantime, I think it's always good to talk about. And I will just add in terms of communications, Lauren has been working on a sort of an infographic with Claire Louise that would essentially say, here are the different parts of the Ernst Brook watershed. And every time we talk about one part, people immediately think, well, there's no plan for the other part. So we do want to make it clear that like all 4 parts of the Ernst Brook watershed and all 4 parts of the shoreline have some sort of concept or prioritization. So the better we can communicate that other than just verbally, obviously documents help. And the 2016 PBCL report is still a great resource with respect to Ernst Brook. They did a lot of work, this whole chapter. So if you want to do that referral, I don't have any, I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do, but just for council to have more opportunity to talk.
Okay. Was your question answered in the conversation or?
No, it was a technical thing, and I'll talk to Dylan about it later.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we'll address those.
All right.
So I'm trying to decide whether to move to refer it to policy and strategy or comms. Communications. Which, I
Could be,
mean, it's gonna come back to us via the joint committees and risk assessment, all of that, that's gonna come back to us. But maybe it's communications. So, okay, I would just,
Council Company?
No, I think it'd be useful just to get some of the facts on the table, that's all, so that you can have a discussion. Without that, you're
Right.
stuck.
So, do you notice? Do you notice, Clark, that?
but maybe we, I think I'm just gonna be satisfied that we've got it covered in moving forward under just the joint committee, Clean Foundation,
Okay.
research, and with if the energy manager is working on some graphics and for the public, that's useful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great.
Acceptance of the.
Yes, this,
So move.
Second.
moved by Councilor Carver, seconded by the deputy mayor. Any questions? All those in favor signify aye, opposed nay. The motion is carried, thank you. Appointment of development officer, 7.2, I want to get on that.
I don't know if you were here at the time, Suzanne, but we had a visit from our new development officer,
Oh. Well,
to
this
the
came
municipality
as
of
a
Chester.
surprise. So this is an extra staffer to Chester, not a hire from us.
No, yeah. And
Okay,
it's a staffer to Chester who was previously, until they became a Chester staffer, a staff person for the town of Lunenburg.
okay.
Interesting.
Trevor Hume. No, I was in today and just Emily was here.
No, I think he said yesterday. But
Oh, okay.
Just popped in. I just thought you might.
Mayor, I'd move that council appoint Trevor Hume as the development officer for the town of Home Bay effective October 30th, 2025. And until such time as the appointment is revoked.
Seconder here, Councilor Carver, thank you. Any good discussion? No?
And
My only
it
question-
doesn't represent any change in Heather's status. This is an additional development.
Mhm.
Okay.
So this is just an incremental new person. There's no requirement for us to revoke someone who's no longer there.
Now, there's a requirement in the Municipal Government Act for the appointment of all of our development officers, so any of their.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just wondering if there's someone,
Will be somebody dropping.
Is there someone that-
Shortly.
is there someone else that was previously appointed that we're now revoking? That, because they're no longer doing that function.
Yeah, there will be like this little crossover for about a month, but there will.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Council Carver.
I might have missed this, but is this person going to be our specific development officer, or do we access either of them, either Heather or Trevor?
Yeah, it will be both of them.
Both of them.
And they don't have any plans to put one of them as the Mahone Bay point person at the current time.
Okay.
Right, any further question? All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you, the motion is carried. 7.3, Community Accessibility Program application.
So if I could just speak briefly to this one, it caught me a little bit off guard. They're doing this program earlier and earlier, which is great. But at the same time, I think in talking to the program administrator, there's an obvious fit this year with something that's, I think, brewing in terms of likely getting involved with looking at the accessibility of the Titan Tots playground after a long time. If council expects that this is the kind of place that motion to look into it in response to the residents having written would go, I don't want to miss the opportunity. That being said, we haven't had time as a group to contemplate what a potential investment on the order of not more than $100,000 would look like. I think the accessibility audit provides a good basis for the type of things that we would need to be focusing on with this improvement. But ultimately, I think, fundamentally, I'm just suggesting we take an incremental approach, find an accessibility improvement that fits the criteria and the price, and then see if we can get funding under this program to do that next year. There is time before the final application deadline to have something more formal, or even to do some engagement or have some discussion. But I just would want to get something in before the EOI deadline.
Did we not have a request already to make it more accessible to toddlers as
Yeah.
opposed preschoolers and older children already?
Interestingly, that request is mirrored in the accessibility report as well, like the idea of adding ramps at a minimum to the existing play structure, which doesn't have any ramps, which was one of the things mostly singled out in that, would be something that would make sense to do.
Mhm.
Now, that works for young kids, it doesn't work for accessibility so well unless that play structure becomes the one where we also get a walkway in and remove the barrier lip. And so there's like, if the focus became make that structure more accessible, both the pathway to it and the structure, that might be a good fit for this application, just sort of like, let's make that one structure more accessible. But, if that's the best use of the funds, like there's some other, the natural playground end is deteriorating, and so putting a new thing at that end is also an option. Now, a full new playground piece of equipment like the one, that's more expensive than this program would support.
Councilor Wilson,
Yeah,
and
just-
Carver.
Yeah, as a former expert in playgrounds, although the Australian variety, I know that there are just tons and tons of accessible equipment that can be used by kids in wheelchairs and whatnot. And I think it's time we had a close look at that. So who knows, if pull that along to the project, but I think this is a great start.
Mhm.
Yeah, at first I was contemplating the idea of design work for the whole, like, what do we do next? But this program's focusing on capital now, so we'll bite off a piece and get to it.
Councilor Carver?
Yes, I'm absolutely, totally in support of looking at the more accessibility of the playground. And I just want to go back again to how this ties into item 8 in the staff report about reviewing the condition of the Tiny Tots playground and reporting back to council. I'm not sure how those things fit together. And then, whatever we can do to maintain and upgrade the condition of the playground in terms of accessibility and usability and attractiveness, we should be doing, I think. But on the other hand, I am a little concerned about one more project, one more bundle of money to be managing and meeting expenses and costs and so on. I just feel we have so many projects on our plate. They're all good projects. But we're juggling a lot. But this is just an expression of interest. It's not a commitment.
Right.
It's, so I think it's worth doing.
Councillor Keating?
You know, I'll support, I'm going to support the motion happily. I do have a question about the earlier conversations we had with the school advisory council, who came in and was talking about the fact that the playground at the Bombay School had a whole bunch of deficiencies. They had to take down a whole bunch of the apparatus, and there's like zero funding for any replacement. And there's a real ambiguity on like who has responsibility on these 3P schools, and like should the money for the school, for the playground upgrades come from the Department of Education and the school board. And anyway, I'm no expert on the topic. It just strikes me that every time I walk by the school, there's a real absence of a playground. But so I wonder, and this kind of goes back to Tim Mary's point earlier in the meeting around, you know, there's a, you know, what about a second field? Like, what about a second? So I know that is very scary.
Sorry, that's Roger.
So I just wonder, I think this is a great move. We should move forward, but I think we do need to be a little more selective about making sure we focus on our top prioritized assets, whether that be the field or the community playground. Like we're a small town. We should have world-class playground. It should be safe. But it should be fun and excellent. And I just wonder about us dividing our funding between the two locations. And I just wonder if we shouldn't have a conversation with the school and their representatives to say, like, I was fully expecting that sometime this year we were going to get a request from the SAC for the town to make a donation to do a major upgrade of the Mahone School playground. I'm almost surprised that hasn't happened yet.
They've done some work last year, and a lot of it comes from home and school.
Yeah, exactly.
The school board is tough to get money out of.
Exactly, Mayor, and I'm just thinking, so I think we should proceed and put in the grant, but as we all know, like these playgrounds are very expensive, like hundreds of thousands of dollars to do these. So I just think we should reach out to the home and school society, so we understand in the next budget, we might receive a request for a $50,000 or $60,000 donation to the school playground. I think that wouldn't shock me if that request does come. We should just be aware of that so that we can align our multiple playground investments so that we make sure we're allocating the money for the best bang for the buck. Anyway.
So there was a question Councillor Carver asked with the relationship between the motion and this report. I still am intending to bring a different report in response to the motion, which is why I didn't mark it complete in the report on the tasks assigned. I just said this is a related report. But I thought, given that is something that we've received recently, and the reason for that referral was, as the mayor said, almost directly associated with the same type of things that would be funded by this grant. I thought it is relevant to show the topicalness. But then I think to the point about the school and, kind of further wraps around to something that report that I'm still working on may cover, understanding why the usership of Tiny Tot seems very high at this point, like busier than I've ever seen in years, given that the school is investing in the facility. I would like to understand, why the two facilities are both independently well utilized. What is the need for the community field that differs from the school?
A lot of kids access the back playground and you don't see it. They access it through the woods. They access it, they go up the street and they go behind the school and access where the swings are. And I understand they installed the swings again in the back. They're the most abused piece of equipment for vandalism. And I said, why did they put something in the back? Because there's no sight from the street to see if they're being misused or anything like that. But that's where they did install them.
So one thing that I might recommend in the report is it's actually not difficult to have something there with the signs, the QR code or something. To gather feedback, like we don't have somebody at the park, it's difficult to get the feedback, but if parents coming into the playground had. Something saying, tell us about what you think about this playground and your experience of it, and why are you here, why do you like it? I won't just start doing that without recommending it, but I think that that might be a helpful additional piece of information to guide these conversations.
Yeah, and if I may,
Yes,
related to that, I have jotted down the idea of working in a parent advisory group. I mean, we've had real success with the other advisory groups project related, and a parent advisory group would be great, in the same way that the parents were so actively involved in setting up this new, the natural playground.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to make the motion if my voice doesn't give out. That council directs staff to submit an expression of interest to the Department of Communities, Culture, Tourism and Heritage Community Accessibility Program for accessibility improvements to Tiny Tots Playground in Jubilee Park.
there's seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any more discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay.
Oh, that was my.
The motion is carried. I believe you were voting for that. Okay, thank you. Good input on that, folks, and let's make sure something happens. All right, council items. Mayor Lona's draft 2026 council. See if I can find it.
Trying to schedule your like 2 or 3 days off next year. It's a very full calendar, as it usually is.
Oh, wait,
Hmm.
why didn't I get that?
I have to say, it made my head hurt getting it this early.
Yeah, well, we always want
It's
to do it
not
early
yet.
because we put it out at the same time as the waste calendar. And people are eager to get their waste calendars, they don't really care for this side. I'm sure they want to see this information. Yeah, so we couldn't do what we did last year, we end up going back and forth on this and we can release the waste calendar separately, but obviously it's just easier.
Like, I didn't realize, why we didn't have a council meeting. I knew we couldn't have it on Remembrance Day, but, and then Kelly did remind me that we had, discussed that, and I do remember the discussion last year. That prompted me, so, are there any dates? Look for your birthday and see if we have that day off, maybe.
No council meeting on the 24th of December.
Yeah, we thought we could give you guys that day off.
The holidays.
Mayor, wouldn't break my heart if we could move that March 13th cemetery meeting up till the 27th of February, but other than that, looks good.
And with that type of small change, and particularly as the chair, if you guys just want to move it as amended, then there can make that note for Kelly to get it. That was the only change we would have to wait.
To 27th of February, if that's convenient.
Oh, yeah.
If that's convenient for staff.
Can't think of any reason why that would be a problem.
Okay. That happens, is that March break, or is March break the next
Next week.
week of the 15th?
Yeah.
All right, anybody have any?
20.
I assume that on July the 1st, the Climate and Environment Committee has been moved to the Thursday. And it may happen that the Climate and Environment Committee might decide to do it differently. I mean, at the time, when we get to.
Those things happen, right?
Yeah.
Like we do our best to get this out and then Kelly
Yeah.
will post changes, generally speaking.
Right. Okay.
So Joe, the question about, I don't know if I properly heard, but with March break, so that meeting proposed for the 20th is a pre-budget, the type of check-in we've had before. Ashley and I talked about 20th versus 27th, and she was inclined to have it on the 20th, even though, like, I do believe that is March break. But unless we're sure that council members will be away, I guess, and to be honest, by the time we get there, we're not sure of that one too, but I do prefer the idea of having at least 2 weeks between the pre-budget conversation and the presentation of the budget.
The count, the colors changed.
So we got one small amendment, if somebody did want to move the acceptance of this as amended for cemetery.
I'm happy with that.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Second by, Councillor Twiner.
Now, I have a question, which is about the Audit and Finance Committee, which is being called. I
Right,
mean, I don't suppose we have any option.
that's
do we?
right.
Yeah, so my understanding with this, and Kelly and I did talk about this, is that probably these would become the audit committee dates most likely. And the finance committee would need to figure out a new meeting
Okay,
schedule.
okay.
Yeah, so we can't presuppose what's happening again.
It was talk about audit more closely around the audit date.
Yeah,
Do you
I would-
recall?
Well, for what it's worth, I'd say defaulting these dates to the finance committee and leaving the audit committee to more ad hoc to align to audit activity, knowing
Yeah.
that God knows, Hope Springs Eternal, like, everybody'd be thrilled to come to an audit committee meeting.
Yeah, I think
Because
that,
that would be the review.
Yeah, well, that's certainly fine. I mean, these are based,
Yeah,
as they always have been around, they hypothetical audit dates, but given
I-
the reality of that, maybe that doesn't.
I mean, I think I'd change it to the finance committee date, which I think will be a very active and robust committee. There'll be activities, and then the audit committee meeting will be very, oriented around two events a year, really, be my sense of things. Well, we all saw the terms of reference, so
right,
they're not exactly the same workload between those two splits.
So, I mean, it may just have to be
Yeah, that's fine,
revisited when we get the
Yeah.
meetings up and
Like
running.
I wouldn't schedule the audit committee
Yeah.
because it's a kind of a fool's errand to think we could contemplate when the.
Well, and in that sense, maybe we should just take audit and finance
Yeah.
off of this.
That's,
Rather than creating confusion. That's certainly an easy enough change. Last year, we had one committee that wasn't, scheduled in.
well, we could keep finance.
Just finance.
Well, I don't know that 4 meetings of the finance committee spaced out in this way is what the finance committee will wanna do. We may want 6, like I'm not sure. It even makes sense to default this to the finance committee. If the finance committee is gonna meet more often than quarterly, because that meeting schedule is the audit committee's minimum obligation.
Okay.
The finance committee
All
may
right.
wanna meet more often, so.
but I think we'll find that the cadence, that motion, that cadence, I think on the audit committee is kind of null and void now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, maybe the audit committee will meet 2 or 3 times ad hoc, but the finance committee might meet monthly.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily say these dates
Fair enough.
are valuable to the finance committee either. If we're still in the air, I would say just forget about these 4 dates and. pick the
Councillor
new set of
Wilson?
dates.
Well, I was actually gonna suggest just leave them the way they are as a kind of a reminder
Yeah, as a whole.
that we have to do something.
Or
That's fine.
If people see that it's not there, I think we're gonna get asked a lot of questions, especially since they know we've done. terms of
So leave them there
reference.
so they don't think it's disappeared. It's
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
more
I think,
meetings
yeah.
than less,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Either leave it as is or just say finance committee. No, leave it as is. No, that's where I,
leave it as is. You
Leave it
could
as is.
add more information to come,
Okay.
could be in the bracket.
Yeah, we'll fix it in
It's
2027.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all-
put an asterisk beside it
Uh,
and say to be reviewed or to be confirmed.
Audit and or.
Or just everything, this is not your garbage pickup. They're all-
Yeah, it's hard to fit too much more info, but I think
Yeah,
the
no.
compromise of just, we'll update it later, but we figure.
Leave it.
Yes, and there are changes on the other flip side of this calendar. To waste management, but Mahone Base is staying the same. There's gonna be some different items with it.
Which
and
committee is this?
another-
Mayor?
Joint services.
So the.
But Mahone Bay is the only one that's not having a change. They're going down to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Services instead of Monday to Friday. And but Mahone Bay is not losing their Wednesday. But there will be an additional recycling
Pickup.
coming up
Gotcha.
in the future months, but.
Yeah, one of the biggest consequences of the shift for other areas is the people who are no longer getting their garbage picked up on that day of the week also end up being bounced to when they're canceled, when there's a collection cancellation. They get their collection early, which is, we've always like, you should push it later, because if you missed it, you've already missed the earlier day too. So anyway, there's no change from home bay, so it's all good for us.
Good.
Having all reflection in one day helps.
Yeah. Okay, all right, ready to vote? All those in favor signify aye, opposed nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. And 8.2, Councillor Carver. Request for review of flag policy.
Yes, thank you. Currently, in the town's flag policy, it allows for the African Nova Scotian flag to be flown for African Heritage Month. And that's in policy. So a question arose in my mind as to whether the town might similarly recognize Indigenous history, either through Canada's National Indigenous History Month in June, and or the Nova Scotian Mi'kmaq History Month in October. So with that in mind, I make the following motion that council direct staff to review the flag policy with a diversity and anti-racism lens, and to propose a list of recurring special awareness days or periods during which representational flags will be flown at the community flagpole.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Councillor Kingsmill, CAO.
I thought it was, I read the motion a couple times because at first I thought it was a referral to the regional committee that you mentioned, and then I realized it was just about applying the lens. But I was curious, like, I don't know their workload, they've just started, but why not refer this question to the regional committee?
Because I referred here.
I was curious, like, how we decide how to take advantage of that. I'm still not clear on how much time they're gonna have to take these referrals, but I wasn't sure if maybe part of the reason was they don't have time.
Well, we haven't got to the referral that we've already
No,
sent to
I knew
them, so.
that.
It seemed to me that because it was in our policy, and there may be other things that come up in our policy that could be addressed at the same time.
Councillor Wilson.
I think that's a good idea, but I would remind us all that we permanently fly the Mi'kmaq flag at the three flagpoles to remind us that they are equal partners in this.
Good point.
This adventure, and this might cause
Yeah,
confusion, but there are other groups that might be included in that list.
And there is a different flag.
Well,
It's the Grand Council flag, which represents like the political territory that we're part of, that we fly on Edgewater, is different from the monthly recognition flag that is flown in some cases. So we might just fly the other flag. I mean, these are the details we'll talk about, but I definitely feel the Grand Council flag belongs with the national flags over there, right? But I think there's a separate flag.
Everything belongs to that committee.
All right, ready for the vote? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Committee reports, social open doors. Councillor Tuano, you belong to the housing appointment. Do you have any comments here that might be of interest? Okay. 9.2, Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee, Councillor Carver, you are on that, any update?
No comment.
Outside of the report?
So we have an in-person orientation that's been scheduled now in November, so, and that'll be bringing on the new members that we've all just recently approved, so.
Oh, very good, all right. Thank you for that. 9.3 Asset Management Committee draft minutes, Councillor Coffeyman, anything to add?
No, not really. We are establishing a list of the priorities, I guess, and there'll be subheadings beneath those, and things like collapsing walls, and it's will probably fall into one of those somewhere.
Okay. Good.
Mayor, just a quick question. In the previous month's asset management committee, there was a discussion around the state of the dam at the water supply, and a takeaway, I think, for staff to develop a little more collateral material for council to kind of understand exactly what we're looking to achieve with that dam project. And that's, I think, the extent of my knowledge about it. I'm just wondering if that is something that is needed this fall, or if that's more something on the engineering side that's going to kind of, follow up in the spring where we'll be. Is there any update on the dam initiative that came out of the committee a month ago, CAO?
I'm sure I recall the direction, but I don't think it was back to the asset management committee. I think it was.
No, I-
Yeah.
No,
No, it
it was,
it was in the stuff.
I think I believe if I recall, there was a motion that came out of the minutes of the asset.
Oh, yeah,
management
it
committee.
was.
And then out of that discussion around the minutes, there was a request for a staff report on the topic that would kind of be more comprehensive. And because the only information we had was just the note from the minutes. I'm just wondering, is there a timeliness issue on that, or is that something that, is more, February,
I
March?
think we're expecting the report November is what I
Oh,
read.
yeah.
It's the end of
Oh,
the
okay, I
meeting.
didn't know that. Fair
It
enough.
might be the first December meeting, but it would come right here to council as opposed to at the committee, we didn't.
I didn't know if that was a follow-up.
Well, it's a useful update, but obviously we hope to retain what we can in that lake, so let's do another better, frankly.
Fair enough.
And the watershed committee has a meeting coming up later in November as well. I'm sure we'll be talking about it later.
Counselor Wilson and then Carver.
Yeah, it's probably not that urgent, because one of the things, and we'll probably talk about it at that meeting, is I know the environmental department is kind of insisting on you let water flow as soon as it can to get the wetlands filled back up, because everything is as dry can be, and that's as much of a problem for them as the lack of water is for us in the lake.
But then can this be a dam maybe that will open and be movable?
I would hope there'd be a sluice gate at some
Yeah,
point.
the gate has to maintain an environmental flow, but in terms of like filling it back up opportunistically, these kind of downpours, like tomorrow's downpour, can do a lot to get ahead if there is a dam. But it's definitely a multi-year process to get through the approvals and all that, like it's on the radar.
And you got a meter of water to catch up.
We have a good diagram that you've seen that's come into the watershed meeting of the different years, the last 4 years, and the lake levels, and no matter how high or how low it gets, it's always returned to the same point in April. So we'll be watching very closely to see if it does. And then the question becomes, are we trying to make it through difficult summers, or are we dealing with a year-over-year deficit? We really can't say we're dealing with a year-over-year deficit at this point.
And Counselor Carver?
Yeah, the CAO has just said what I was gonna comment, which is at the asset management committee meeting where Scott, was present, and he said it's a long process. So we'll get our report from our staff here in November about what it entails and make a decision about whether to go ahead with the application at that point.
Yeah.
And anticipating that it will take quite a few.
I think go ahead with all the studies and stuff to underlie the application, and then there'll be another check-in, like, if they come back and say what we thought they'd say.
Well, this is a replacement. It's not new.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a replacement. We've got the records going back 100 years of the old dam. That was a power generating dam initially. We're not expecting it to be able to really do much in the town. Yeah. Actually, the original motion was the
Home-based
mayor
hydro.
and a group of men would go and dam it. That was it. The council moves that the mayor and a group of men, now the mayor was TJ Nichols, who ran the electrical utility,
Right.
and a group of men will go dam the overflow from the lake.
And
So
a couple teams of oxen.
I don't know if you have a group of men and a couple teams of oxen, but it might not take 2 years if we do it the way they did back.
We're gonna get the mayor and a group of men to fix the broken wall.
They line and bright out any day.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, that's a very topical conversation around the water supply. And anyway, whatever you need from us, we're here to approve things.
Okay,
See behind the oxen and
all right. So that was 9.3, 9.4 audit and finance committee draft minutes. That's ready to go to council.
There is a motion.
There's,
Oh,
Mayor, if you remember, we had a kind of a comprehensive conversation around some of the issues around policy changes and accounting standards changes, one of which was the asset retirement obligation, which is a new obligation to report that all of the 49 municipalities around the province are kind of struggling to step up to, given how onerous it is to be able to comply. One of the downsides of not being able to comply is that you end up with a kind of a generic rubber stamped qualified financial statements. So in the conversation by the audit committee, it was viewed that it would be good for us to have a report that we could familiarize ourselves with as a council and yourself as well as any other members of the community have an interest about what is this asset retirement obligation, what does it mean, and why is this the driver of the qualified financial statements that we're likely to see for at least the next 3 or 4 years. And so the idea is that the staff report that would kind of give some color and context to that topic would be worthwhile. So in that, with that kind of with that backstop, I'd move that council direct staff to bring an overview report on the asset retirement obligation mandate within the financial statements to the audit committee.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor second. Any questions? No? Okay, pretty straightforward. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. And the final part, the terms of reference, are going to be regrouped again. I think we have, our clerk is, putting those together, and, we'll come back to council. So, for final approval will be circulated, I think, amongst the members of the subcommittee, and then we'll come to council. I believe that was.
I think, Mayor, the cadence was that the subcommittee was going to take a final cut of it and then refer it back to the audit committee meeting, which we hope will also include the receipt of the audited financial statements in the month of November, sometime whenever that is, between now and Christmas.
Yeah.
And then it'll come back to council after that.
Yeah, with the one caveat that all the feedback, which we did get a considerable amount at the audit committee, Eric would then actually do a draft that reflects that, so that the subcommittee, when they meet, have a penultimate draft, I guess, maybe. Yeah, so that was the.
Okay. So there we are. Okay, anybody want to make a motion to accept all these reports? So Councillor Pufferman, thank you. Councillor Wilson seconds. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. New business?
Your worship.
Yes, Councillor
I'll
Carver.
just give notice of motion, to bring a motion to the next council meeting in support of the MPU proposal.
And it doesn't need a second. I'm gonna quickly comment that I think it's really timely because we really shouldn't wait till budget. The agreement itself needs renewal, which would then inform the budget. So I think, Councilor Carver's motion will surely reflect that by the time we get to the next meeting.
Like some tea, Penny?
That's a risky.
Okay, clerk, is there any questions? We have no one in our gallery. How many people did we have online?
Currently 12, but I saw as high as 17 this evening.
Wow, soccer fans, maybe. All right.
Good news.
Good news. Well, thank you for all those of you who have tuned in. We are going into closed session. So there will not be a regular council meeting. The first one is Remembrance Day. So we'll see you later in the month. We'll at the end of November, and we'll probably have a very long agenda. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I will take a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Toronto moves that we go into closed session, MGA 22-2A, acquisition, sale, lease, and security of municipal property. Number MGA 22-2E, contract negotiations.
I'll second that.
Second that, all those in favor? Aye,